Welcome to Yeshiva Daf. Shir sponsor Lui Nishma Sam Yakashom Lav Asitzchok. We're holding Metzia Daf Pei Beis. We're starting in the two dots of Daf Pei Aleph and Beis. The Gemara quotes the Mishnah Ilvahu al Mashko and Shem Sacher. Someone who lent on the Mashko, we're learning in the Mishnah, he's a Shem Sacher. Why? Because he has the Mashko to hold it. He's lending. And Rashi said the Mishnah, the reason is because he's a Shem Sacher is because he's a Schar Mitzvah. Getting for the Mitzvah, Rabbi Yehuda argued. Says the Gemara, Leim Asid Lo Kablazo. Chor Vishal Kablazo, the Tanya. Hamal Ves Chaveir Ala Mashko. You over the Mashkoin. Someone who lends his friend for collateral, and the collateral gets lost. Yishav Vavi Tumoi, so the Rabbi Lezer. So then he should do a shvur, and he will take his money. He tell you do a shvur, which the shvur, discussion what the shvur is. Was the shvur that it got lost, or the shvur it's not b'rshusoi, or shvur they didn't do any damage to it. So Yeshava, and he takes the money. The Rabbi Lezer. You lend me money for the mashkon. Over the mashkon, over the morsech. I'm sorry, you lost the mashkon. I don't have to pay you anymore. Aval. So in other words, what's the machlekes? Is the mashkon? Do I look at the mashkon and this is the payment for the loan, or the mashkon is only I'm holding it on as a pikadon? If you don't pay me, then I'll take it from there. Aval zuz b'shtar. But if you have a star, so by a star, I don't need the mashkon. I have the star. And in addition, you have a mashkon. Because why do you give a mashkon if I have a star? I have it documented. It's not just to remember to hold on to it. It's already part of the payment. So what do you see over here? What's the question the Gemara is asking? You see over here that according to Rabbi Lezer, right? That let's see. I want to see the Lashon of Rashi inside. Rashi says, Rashi says, Yeshava, Shalei Pash L'Shem Echinu Mu'alo, De'ein Adam Notel Mashkon L'Guvayno, Ele B'tor Moiso Shelo Yuchal L'Kfor, Uloyim Shemuchanim Mu'alo, Shim Avad Yigvim Mokom Acher, it's a Shem Echinu. And if it's a Shem Echinu, on the fact that there was a, that it's gone, so it got lost, right? It got lost. So a Shem Sacher is responsible for that Aveda. Here he's a Shem Echinu. And because it's Shem Echinu, that's why he's Plato. So you see that our Mishnah is not like a Blazer, because according to a Blazer, he's a Shem Echinu, and our Mishnah says he's a Shem Esach. Says the Gemara, I feel Tim Blazer, if you want to say some Blazer. Feel like Kasha. Kache Mishkenoi B'Shas Alvasoi, Kan Mishkenoi Shaloi B'Shas Alvasoi. Depends on when you give the mashkon. If you give the mashkon when you do the loan, then the mashkon is not a payment. It's just a zikar environment. It's a way for us to remember. It's like when you go to you go to the amusement park, they ask you for some collateral. It's not that they're going to pay from their ticket. It's just to make sure you'll give it back. But if when he took the loan without a mashkon, then he took a mashkon, that's already a payment. So, right? So it says, and in Mechlikas we're showing him over here where Shalom B'Shas Lavos, so you need Beis Din, or you can do it on his own. Rashi says he did it with Beis Din. Then came in and did it with Beis Din. Says the Gemara, in both cases, it says that Beis Din Aleph, he'll vow ala mashkon p'tani, but it says both cases, he'll vow ala mashkon. Mashkon he did it when he did the alva. Elo loikash. Kan shavo amoris, kan shaveu peris. Depends when you lend him. If you lend him money, like we learned in the Mishnah, the Gemara's going to ask in a moment, the Mishnah, someone else said it. If you lend him money, so then there's no benefit for him to give the loan. So he's a Shem Echinu. But if you lend him fruits, if you keep the fruits get spoiled. So he has a benefit for the fact he's paying back money. So that's why it's a Shem Echinu. This idea, the difference between money and Paris, we learn in the Mishnah Rabbi Yehuda. According to the Kama, we don't say it. So the more cool Rabbi Yehuda, really the whole Mishnah is Rabbi Yehuda. V'chasur Metzia Tani. He'll vow ala mashkon Shem Echinu. He's a Shem Echinu, but vow ala mashkon. But then we're more Yeshiva Paris. Although more he's bringing him money, Shem Echinu. Rabbi Yehuda, he'll vow more Shem Echinu, vow Paris Shem Echinu. He's really, that will be the case, and we learn like Rabbi Lezer. So the Gemara says, I don't like this. Why not? Because you're saying so good. You're answering the question. The Gemara says, the Chorah Mishnah is not Rabbi Lezer. That's what the question of the Gemara was. The Gemara answers so well. So now the Gemara says, when Mishnah comes in, not like Rabbi Lezer. Yachi come limasid to look at Rabbi Kiva. So Mishnah is like, Rabbi Kiva is the one who argued with Rabbi Lezer. And Rabbi Kiva holds that he is that he has to take the mashkin for the loan, right? Meaning the mashkin is a way to pay him. So the mashkin is becoming a payment back. And that's why he's the Sheva Sachar. Why? Look at Lashon Rashi. It's starting from the end of the first line. He's not a Shemechino. Because he's not just guarding for no reason, he's guarding it for the loan. So if so, he's a Sheva Sachar. And we don't want our mission not to go like Rabbi Akiva, because Stam Mishta is Rabbi Akiva. So you're right. So let's give up on the answer. Very funny discussion. Or tries to say Rabbi Lezer, says no. Or says, I don't want to say the Mishnah like Rabbi Akiva. So our Mishnah is not like Rabbi Lezer, and he's a Sheva Sachar. So let's assume that the mashkon is now worth the loan, worthless. When the machlokes is the sheet of Shmuel. Someone who lent his friend 1,000. And he gave him the handle of the sickle. That was his collateral. And even though this handle is not worth the loan, but the loan this is for your loan. This is your collateral for your loan. You don't have the collateral, it's gone. Second no. If it's not worth if the collateral is not worth the loan, we disagree with the shmuel. How could the shavi shir zuzi? He would talk about it is worth the loan. The kamil give that yitzchok. The mav yitzchok we nine the bal choiv shekoine mashkoin. How do you know the bal choiv owns the mashkoin? Shenema v'lechot yedzok. You have a tzedakah. Meaning, what's the tzedakah? When a person takes the mashkoin, he gives it back to the ani in the night, or if it's the day of the clothing, he gives it back in the day. He has a tzedakah. He may not koine mashkoin tzedakah minoli. If he doesn't own it, where's the tzedakah? The tzedakah means you give me something that you own. The bal choiv shekoine mashkoin. For me, you see the bal choiv is koine mashkoin. Second, v'tizbo ha'imudol ma'abitzchu b'mishkeno yisholo b'shas alvasoi. As we established, we talk about here, this whole mashkon is b'shas alvo. Ritzchak never spoke b'shas alvo. Ritzchak spoke about only when you can take the money from Beis Din. The Beis Din gave you a mashkon. That's when you say it's koine mashkon. If not. So this brings over here that we do find ideas where we do say that it's koine, but he says not a real kinyan. Okay. So. Right? And just an interesting discussion over here before we go on, that Tais points out that Rashi says, the Havamir of the Gemara that we want to see with Shmuel, we want to say it's not worth the value, so any problem. But if it's worth it, the Kula Alma is going to be a Shemasach. That's what the Gemara says no. Tais disagrees. Tais says that Tais doesn't like it. He wants to say that the Gemara never wanted to say that everybody agrees is a Shemasach. Let's just keep that in mind. So says the Gemara, Hello, so what's machlekes? Mishkeno shelo b'shas alvasoi. Kulam yisul devitzchok. If it's mishkeno shelo b'shas alvasoi, so of course he owns it. Mishkeno b'shas alvasoi. Here we talk about that he's giving the mashkon in time of the alvo. And what's machlekes? B'shem avedo kamid v'legay. The machlekes is the din of b'shem avedo. The b'shem avedo rabo makishem mechino. He's considered b'shem mechino. He's over makishem mesachar. Right? So. It's a machlekes. What is a Shomer Aved? Why should a Shomer Aved be a Shomer Sachar? So there we mentioned in Masechet Bava Kama, we learned the idea is because why is holding on the Aved is oisig b'mitzvah. Oisig b'mitzvah, patur min mitzvah. He doesn't have to get tzedakah. So he's considered to be a Shomer Sachar. He's benefiting by that way. So says the Gemara, Rabbi holds a Shomer Chino, a Shomer Sachar. That's a machlekes to be a Shomer Aved. Limit the basic tanoihi. So the Chori were basic machlekes tanoihi. Said the one look. In the Shema Aved, someone who found an Avedo and he's guarding it. Everybody agrees. Risa will say everybody agrees it's a Shema Sachar. Rashi says Rabbi will say it's a machlekes because he has no way to explain it otherwise. But according to Risa, can say everybody agrees that Avedo is a Shema Sachar. The Hacha, the Pibes Ubeis, Pemilva, Pemalvet Tzorich, Lamashkoin Kamifle. Malva needs a mashkoin. What does it mean? Rashi explains Malvet Tzorich Lamashkoin Lishtamis a boy. He needs to use it. He's not just holding on to the mashkoin, he's using the mashkoin to decrease the law. Tosis doesn't like it, he brings rise against it. And he brings another pshat. The pshat is that he doesn't need the mashkoin. In other words, does the lender need the mashkoin or not? Right? Will the lender give it to him without a mashkoin? If the lender is giving it without a mashkoin, so for sure he's doing here a big mitzvah. But if he demands the mashkoin, so that's the machlokes. According to Rashi, when he's using the mashkoin, there's a one more pshat in the Rishonim that the Riv says. The pshat is that he can use the mashkoin if he needs it. He can go and borrow money and use the mashkoin to be a mashkoin for somebody else. That's what Metzia mashkoin. Metzia mashkoin to use it as a mashkoin. So in other words, the lender is somehow having a benefit from the mashkoin. Still did a mitzvah. If he did a mitzvah, it's a shemesachar. Why if he did a mitzvah, it's a shemesachar? Because someone who's always a mitzvah, part of a mitzvah. That's the point of Shat. Says the Gemara, it says, no, but he was using the mashkoin. He's benefiting the mashkoin. So that's why it's a shemechino. So the maskana of the Gemara is, what's the machlekes? If someone's holding on to a mashkoin, is he shemesachar or shemechino? The machlekes is he doing a mitzvah or not. If the mashkoin is not related, of course he's doing mishkas. He's doing a mitzvah because he's giving a loan. But if he needs to use the mashkoin, or according to Torah says he's demanding the mashkoin, so then it's not such a mitzvah anymore, and therefore it's not a shemesachar, it's a shemechino. Whenever you do a mitzvah and you're holding on to it, you have the din of using a mitzvah, part of a mitzvah. Right. And if you have a mitzvah, right? If you have a mitzvah, so we mentioned over here the reason why you have a mitzvah you're potter, because the reason why he's potter is because he's what? He's potter a mitzvah because he's always going to put a mitzvah. We have over there another reason, because he's mishubin min Torah. Remember the Gemara Bava said another reason is because the Torah obligates him to do it. So the second answer is a little more problematic to say in our Gemara, so we'll leave you with that. Says the Gemara, learn, the person has a mashkoin, he can rent it out and reduce the loan. He can do it. We'll look about items that you use for charisha, for plowing, which are very common. And because they are, you make a lot of money out of it, and the loss of the item, the loss of the benefit outweighs the loss. You use the item goes down a little bit, and you make a lot of money, so it's kedai for the money. If not that, you don't do it. So the Mishnah. Someone is carrying a barrel from place to place, and he breaks it. He needs to do a shvur that he wasn't appreciating. So Rambam says that you have to do a shvur. Rashi says, I heard that too. He says, I'm not sure how this shvur works. I don't know if this shvur is beneficial. Says the Gemara, someone's carrying the chavis from one place to another. The shavar, and he broke it. He has to be a shvur. He didn't do a pshiyah. Rabbi argues. Why does Rabbi argue? What was Rabbi saying? Rabbi says that he holds that this is considered to be not a pshiyah. This is to be considered to be like an aveda. Meaning, if it broke, what's the shvur? Shvur is they didn't do a pshiyah. So they have to do a shvur. And if it did break, and if he was not pshiyah, so our Mishnah says, so they're both a pater. It's considered to be honest. Rabbi says he's not pater. He's still responsible because he's a shemesachar. A shemesachar is chayav minei ma'aveda, right? So Rameh holds you don't take. So that's and Rashi points out in the Mishnah where Rabbi Yehuda says makes much more sense Because Rabbi Yehuda is telling me this person is a Shem Yisachar. Shem Yisachar is Chayav B'Yev Avedo. If the thing breaks, it's L'chur like an Avedo. It got broken, so you're responsible for it. So Bishma Shem Yechinam, you're Patur, because the Shem Yechinam is Patur unless it's Shia. He does a Shua, he's Patur. But if he's a Shem Yisachar, what does he have to do a Shua? So that's something we have to be about. So according to him, we have to understand. Rabbi Yehuda makes a lot of sense. So I'm surprised if you have a shvua or not. So now we'll start the Gemara. This Gemara, we're going to get back to it tomorrow because the Gemara is going to go in two ways, two mahalchim. But just to finish the daf, just to see the beginning of the discussion. Says the Gemara, you want to tell me someone who falls is not a pesher, right? So, because what's the shvua? As Rashi says, the shvua is he didn't do any other pshir. So the fact that he fell, that's not a pshir. Right? So like more Vatani will learn the so Nishber Kad, we learn this above a Kad. Nishber Kad will silkoi, the Kad broke and it didn't take it out. Now for the Gemara will mido and his camel fell and pick it up. May Mechayev as they could, Choy Poitru. Only part within Adam, Chayev within Shemai. May says you have, or what say you're not Chayev within Adam. He's responsible within Shemai. The Kaimel and Benitkal Pashea Pligi. The argument Nitkal Pashea. The Gemara there explains that he got stuck in the camel, or he got stuck in the barrel. So he questions, a person trips on his own. Is he chayav or is butter? Machlekes. Rameir holds you chayav in that case. So why here you butter? It's a machlekes a libid Rameir. In other words, our Mishnah and their Mishnah doesn't go together. That's what you have to answer. We have a stira, we have to say that it's a stira. If you're also Rabbi Yehuda, comes Rabbi Yehuda and says, Shomechinam Yishavan, Yisachotzacha Yishalem. Haikidina, Haikidine. Right? Meaning, he comes and says very good. Nitkal la Peshehu. And there's a Sadi Shalom, even though with that Peshehu, you're still chayav. Remember, we still have to understand why you're chayav. Also, Blazer comes and says, in Gemara Kramer, I know like Kramer, there is Patur, Bishvul. I don't understand why you both do a Shvul. Why not? So you're going to say the question we just said. I understand, Shemechim is not Peshehu, it's Patur. Why are you doing a shvul? Even if he didn't not appreciate, he has to pay. Shemechim pays for Aveda. Even Shemechinam, nami. You are in a slope. It's a highness. How can you say not Peshehu? You're not responsible the way you're taking it. Even in that slope, you have a right to see if he was Peshehu or not. If you have Eidim, Nesi Rav in Fater, why are you telling him to do a Shvur? Just bring the Eidim. If nobody saw you do a Shvur, right? So says the Gemara, it's a shvur to Takaras Chachamim. Says it's a special takana. Takana is, right, he says, what's running Rameir? So meaning what? Going back to the question. The one did not answer what's going on with Rameir, why the shvur will help. We have a problem. The Gemara brings the question of Rabbi Elazar. I don't understand why the shvur works. By the Shem Yisachar should not work because even if he's not Peshehu, he's still chayav. By the Shem Yechinam it should not work because only in specific cases there's no Eidim and it wasn't a slope. Then it works, but not always. You give me a rule. You always do a shvur. Now Reb Chia over here says, and according to Rashi, and we'll get back to that tomorrow. Reb Chia goes back to the original question. Of course, there's a contradiction. There's a contradiction. Here we say Nitkal Peshehu, and Bava Kama we say Nitkal Peshehu. So usually we say Nitkal is Peshehu. But here is different because here is special Takana Chazal and Nitkal Peshehu. Because if not, nobody's going to carry anything to somebody else. So every time I fall, I'm going to have to pay. I'm not carrying for you. So therefore, Chazal said, by carrying in this case, you will be Patur. Okay, so that's an answer to that. And we'll go back to this whole discussion in tomorrow's daf. Have a wonderful day. Kol Tov.